Did you say we're good? Okay. Okay, sorry, Jeff.
Okay, that's on.
We're ready.
All right. Okay. We'll start the regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees, April 16th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the adoption of agenda. It is recommended that the agenda of the April 16th, 2020 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees be approved as presented.
Motion. Second.
Vote.
Vote.
Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Approval of minutes. It is recommended that the minutes of the March 12, 2020 regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees be approved as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Oop.
Kim.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. No public, right, Dan?
No.
Okay. Claims. You might have to help me on the last number, Dan. Claims. It is recommended that claims number 1514 to
1614.
1614 be approved as presented. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Personnel. It is recommended that the resignation from Marilyn Bailey be approved as presented.
Motion.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed on that one. Number 2, it is recommended that the retirement letter from Lisa Jones be approved as presented. Is there a motion?
Motion.
There's a second.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. It is recommended, number 3, recommended that the resignation from Tricia Warwick be approved as presented. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Oop.
Kim.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Vote, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 4, it is recommended that the resignation from Cindy Holliday be approved as presented. Is there a motion?
Can I ask a question before we go further?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just a little curious about it because I felt like that when we first brought it up, it wasn't that long ago, and I was just curious about do we do improvement plans? I mean, do we do written improvement plans for it? It just seemed like it was a short time from the time that happened until, and I was just curious about what we do.
Yes, we can't get into personnel matters right now, but
Okay.
any employee that needs an improvement plan would be placed on an improvement plan.
Okay. Well, I'll just leave that for now then. I'm sorry.
All right. No. So, hey, did we get a motion and a second?
No, we haven't.
Okay. We need to do that. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Okay. Second.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Continued school functioning resolution. It is recommended that the adoption of the continued school function resolution be approved as presented.
Just,
And go ahead.
yeah, just a quick note on that. As you're fully aware, obviously, with the unusual circumstances that have been presented to us the last few weeks, this was an attempt in taking the executive order and the public access counselors, all the information, and ISBA has presented the corporations with a few different possibilities for resolutions. This one seemed to be the most logical for us. Some of the other ones, you would need to pass 2 or 3 separate resolutions. And basically, at the risk of sounding almighty, which I certainly don't intend to, but it basically allows us, the governor has a press conference every day. Tomorrow, he's expected to probably prolong the stay at home a little bit longer. Having a resolution of this nature allows us to continue without having to meet and say, well, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to do. This is what we want to do. I do try to check in with you just to make sure that nobody is totally against anything, but it's just one way of trying to, lack of a better term, accommodate the needs right now because it changes so frequently. And trying to get meetings together is very difficult. And they've also told us, they want meetings right now to be essential business only. So it's just an attempt to allow us to continue making decisions and going forward as we see fit, as appropriate for the matter that we have. Also, part of this, I do want to clarify just to make sure it's out there that it would ratify anything that any of the decisions that we've made prior to this evening, which would be, continuing with pay for non-certified folks that haven't worked yet, or I should say haven't worked yet. Didn't mean it that way. Haven't worked through this pandemic. Some of the other decisions, keeping custodians home, but maintenance is working a little bit right now. Just basically the essential personnel. But basically, it ratifies that because we had discussed as a possibility and needed to move forward with that because that hit us so fast. Within a matter of a couple of days, it went from we personally as a corporation were only going to take those couple of weeks after spring break as kind of our own isolation, self-isolation stuff, and it all of a sudden within a matter of a couple of days of that next week, it just ballooned. And, it made a big difference to our employees. They're very concerned. Obviously, it's something that's beyond any of their control, any of our control even. And so it does ratify those decisions as well.
Okay, so what you're basically saying is that the non-essentials will be paid through the end of the school year, the normal school year?
Well, yes, we would do that. But this would also ratify the decision that we had made in March to get them paid. I think originally it was going to be those 2 weeks. And then we said, okay, through April 30th, because that was the next stay-at-home order. And obviously, since that time, now the governor has shut down school facilities through the end of May. So yes, it would get both sides of that. It would get the decision already made, and it would allow them to remain being paid through the rest of this school year.
That's great.
And it would not, just for clarification purposes, it would not continue with somebody, let's say an instructional assistant is probably the best example. If they traditionally would not work and be paid during the summer, it doesn't extend pay into that.
Right.
It only extends the pay of what their normal work schedule would have been.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
So I make a motion.
I got it.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey,
All right.
all right.
Okay. That all on that, Dan?
Yes, and while you were beeping in there, Mrs. Brewer did make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. There's a second, and those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. I was sure hoping I could get on here.
You did it.
Your name? I can see your name.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Purchases. It is recommended that the purchase of the Spanish textbooks from McGraw-Hill be approved as presented.
And just very quickly, this goes along with a 6-year cycle of textbook adoption. And then the textbooks are divided out. The cost is divided out over 6 years. And that is part of the registration every year. So when a student takes Spanish 2, for instance, 1/6 of that cost would then go, they get charged, okay, it's $18 for that year.
Motion.
Scott, second.
Second.
Second. Oh. Go ahead, Donna.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed. It is recommended that the purchase of personal finance textbooks from the Ramsey Education be approved as presented.
And very quickly on this one, this helps us to meet a state law that came into place a year or so ago. And it's been being done. It's been handled. But this year they've worked out the schedule, and I believe it's going to be all sophomores will be taking it this next year, and actually ordering now. And before the end of April, we save $2 a student. So when you're buying 70 books or whatever, $2 would save $140. So, but just kind of want to give you a little background of what that was. And some of you probably had similar type classes when we were in high school, but a lot of those have gone away. Well, they started seeing kids come out with debt and getting credit cards and getting way behind and realizing that something needed to be done. And it's now back on the schools to make sure we teach a personal finance course. So, and I personally, Dave Ramsey, that's a pretty good program. And so I mean, if you look at the costs, it's $1,400 or $1,500. It's really very reasonable course or cost as well.
Yeah, that's a
Motion.
good course.
Okay, Donna?
Motion.
Second. Okay.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Other business? Dan?
No, I had nothing to add.
On the reports due to the COVID-19 executive order, and PAC has requested essential business items only during electronic meetings. So that's probably why the principals aren't here, right?
Yes, principals and like the error mark with the lunch and stuff. So, but I do have a couple things to update. So
Go ahead, it's yours.
okay. It's a little lengthy, but I'll still try to get through it quickly. I did write it down. But I do want to make mention for the public and for the board that our continuous learning plan that is required by the Indiana Department of Education was submitted yesterday, the 15th, and was approved about within an hour, I think. As Southeast Found doesn't currently have e-learning officially, this posed some additional concerns of getting work to students. However, thanks to great efforts of our instructional staff, they are reaching students in every way possible, such as email, Remind, Zoom, Google Meet, Google Classroom, etc. We've had teachers physically mail items to students. It's just been amazing to see what these great educators are doing. In the time of crisis, they keep having obstacles thrown their way, and they just keep leaping over them somehow. It's amazing. It should be noted that many paraprofessionals, as well as your principals, have also joined some of the video conferencing and reached out and trying to contact students individually. I know the high school had a goal this week of reaching 100% contact. And contact this week, this challenge was not only reaching out, but getting contact back. And I think they're down to about 20 or 21 students as of just a little bit ago that they haven't heard back from this week. So they're still trying to get them, but that's the kind of effort that they're making right now. So it's outstanding. And we understand it's a difficult time for students and staff. And sometimes having somebody just ask you how it's going does wonders. So, you know, the teachers, instructional staff, paraprofessionals, principals, you know, they're knocking this thing out of the park, which, I mean, nobody was prepared for this. Even the folks with e-learning was not designed for a 2-month program. You know, it was for a day or two here or there with inclement weather. So I did want to very quickly for the public, in our first week of meal distribution, we packed 163 bags. And a bag is 5 meals for the week. So that's actually 815 meals. The second week we packaged 186. And so that was 930 meals. And this past Monday we packed an even 200 bags, but that was 2,000 meals because this week we started breakfast. So we had actual 2,000 meals. And then this week, or for the coming Monday, the 20th so far, we have 215 requested. So it's a process. We've gained and improved and solicited feedback and made adjustments to try to make it better each week. We started an evening drop this past Monday that's been beneficial. We had one of the bus drivers come back last week and say, boy, you know, I love doing this, but I need help on the bus. And so the 3 larger stops in Petersburg, Hillsborough, and Kingman, we now have an assistant that rides that bus that helps check off names and things like that. So, you know, we try to listen to that feedback. But I do want to make mention that we plan on running this through the week of May 18th. But that there are some parameters with that, you know, as long as the health and safety guidelines from federal or state level or even local level permits us to do so, as long as our workers continue to stay healthy, and as long as the supplies can continue. There are pork plants closing down. They're, you know, lower down in the no pun intended, the food chain. There's places closing. So if we can continue with the supplies, we're going to keep going through that through the end of that last week of school. I do want to thank publicly Jennifer Rice and Sharina Allen from Aramark. They've been great to work with the last few weeks to accommodate for all these meals. But in addition to that, the countless volunteers that we've had, and they've all been employee volunteers. It's paraprofessionals, bus drivers, teachers, secretaries, principals. I mean, it's been all of them that have board members that have helped us come in, and we could not do all those lunches and meals without that help. So very much appreciated. And calendar wise, I do want to update, as you are as you are aware, the governor has waived 20 days of this school year. So schools were required to complete at least 160 days, or we had to complete 20 days of remote instruction from April 1 to June 30. We chose kind of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday platform as far as reaching to students and getting work out there and getting the information. So that pushes us to the last day would be May 20th, which is a Wednesday, which is only one day earlier than our normal or originally scheduled last date. And we do know that some other schools are ending earlier than that, and we understand that, and that's okay. But in our circumstance, we kind of talked about it, and the consensus was, you know, let's stick to the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You know, because if we go an extra 2 or 3 weeks past the end of April, 1st of May, I mean, if we went 4 or 5 days a week, we could have been done early May. But we felt those extra contacts for the next couple of weeks of kind of checking in with kids and parents and seeing what's going on. We thought that would be beneficial. So we've decided to stick with the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I do also want to clear up, especially for the public, again, that regardless of rumors and speculation, there is no decision on graduation yet. You know, we are pledging to do our best to provide some kind of ceremony. We don't know what that's going to look like. We don't know when we'll be able to have it. It's just too early to say all that, but it has gotten in and out of different places that, oh, we've just canceled it. And that's not true. It's not canceled yet. Is it postponed? Yes, probably, based on the governor's closing facilities till the end of May. Yeah, it's not going to happen May 22nd, but if things start going well and the curve is flattened and they start, things going back, maybe the third week of June, I don't know, maybe it's the third week of July, which might be a little toasty, but we're pledging to try to do something. So I just really want to clarify for people that graduation is not canceled yet. And we will do everything we can to have some kind of ceremony. The last resort would be some kind of virtual ceremony, and that's been talked about, but we just don't know yet. It's just too early. We're still in mid-April, and there's still a lot of press conferences to be had and information to be shared from the health departments, and it's just too early to make a determination and say, well, we're going to postpone it to June 14th or whatever. We can't do that yet. In closing, I took a little bit longer than I wanted to, but there's a lot of good information. I really want to thank everybody during this time. Parents, I get it. I hear you. Some of you have, gone through job losses, and now you're at home and you're trying to balance the kids, and all of a sudden now you have to be the teacher, and we don't expect you to be the teacher. We just ask you and try to provide an encouraging and welcoming environment to allow the communication between our staff and their students. And you don't have to do everything for us. We're all, as the governor says, I give him kudos on this. He's handled this very well, in my opinion. We're all in this together. We really are. And I agree with him 100% in that respect. And it's something that none of us have been through. And we're all learning and growing and trying to figure it out, but we're trying to do it together. And I think that's very important. And finally, to the amazing staff that we have, tremendous, caring, and loving staff. I'm just honored to be here with such great people. They have had, again, so many obstacles thrown at them the last few weeks, and they just keep finding ways to amaze me that they're reaching out and getting to these kids. It's just been incredible. Also want to thank the board for their support during this time. It's certainly been an unusual time, and I know you've had a lot of questions, and we've my Friday updates, sometimes I imagine they get a little longer than you would care to see them sometimes, but it really is an unusual time in our history. So before I close, I do want to say two more things. First of all, thank you to the employees who've chosen to go different directions. We appreciate their years. I know Lisa Jones was all told with 2 stints at Southeast Fountain. I think she ended up about 22 or 23 years here at Fountain Central. So we appreciate all the years of service for all those folks. But the last thing I would say is that we want to express our condolences to the families of Sharon Allen and John Carver. Sharon was a 28-year Southeast Fountain employee, and her husband Buck was actually a longtime Southeast Fountain employee as well. And John was a beloved coach, assistant coach, volunteer. He kind of put on 40 different caps, I think, because he kind of did all kinds of different things for us. But John was here many years helping in different capacities. And of course, John's wife, Amber, is currently a teacher at the elementary where their son Eli attends. So both of these people will be greatly missed by a lot of people. So we thank them for their years of service to Southeast Fountain, and they're going to be missed. So that's it, Mr. Fisher.
Okay. Discussion items. Dan, on the claims.
Yes.
There was several that had money coming to them, and it was called deposit refund. What was that?
Some of those I'd have to pull them up. Some of those were where it said tuition refund. Some of those were the elementary preschool where they had paid ahead. And then some of those refunds in there, if you go over to the left column a little bit farther, it'll show you that that was from the German exchange program.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily money that,
Right.
yeah, and to be fair, we are still working through the Washington DC stuff. Mr. Webb and I have been working on that, and we were talking today that we're probably going to have a Zoom meeting with Mr. Bolin and Mrs. Bowling and whoever else is involved in the scheduling of that. And a couple places are looking like they're going to refund, but a couple places want to give credit toward the next trip. So we're trying to work through some things there. So that should be most of the refunds that you would see on there would be either the preschool or the German exchange trip.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Anybody else? Statements and concerns of the board.
I want to make a statement and say Mr. Foster and all the staff has done an excellent job in this time of getting thrown in the middle of this without e-learning. I know it's not the easiest thing to do. And like you said, even with e-learning, it wasn't made for what we're going through right now. So I know it's a tough road and you guys have done a good job, and I want to commend everybody on that. And especially with the food delivery stuff, I think that's a vital part of helping out our community. And I love that we're doing that.
I do too.
Okay, Scott, are all your guys in working?
We have some working from home that can.
The factory is it closed down?
We're still running
Okay.
with as minimal people as we can. You know, the essential people they call it.
Right.
We have had 3 positive cases that I had to get a company out of Indy that came in and cleaned some areas and shut down some areas, and we've quarantined some different crews and those kind of things. So we've been directly involved in it a little bit. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
I heard. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
You wish we could say the same for you, Jeff. We can't see.
Yeah, not on there.
Nice to hear your voice, though.
Can't you see me, Crystal?
No, I can't see you. I just see your name, Jeff.
Okay. Gotcha.
Next
Well,
time.
at least,
We got you on, wait.
yeah. Well, thanks, Dan, for all you're doing.
Thanks
Yep.
to everyone for all
Good
your
team. Yep. Good team. It takes all of us right now. So appreciate it. I will pass that along.
Yes.
I bet you when you took the job, you never dreamed that you'd have all the situations you've had.
Well,
been a
let me
year.
tell you this. I'm glad I've had some experience, because if this were my first year,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be looking for a, 3rd grade elementary position or something. I don't know, but whew, it's
Been a
been
wild
unusual.
ride.
Been unusual.
Yeah.
We'll get through it.
We're thankful that we have a superintendent with some experience through this, because like you said, it would have made it tough on a first-year person.
Yeah.
And again, you have developed a good team here. So that's, I wasn't involved in any of that. So that goes back to you. You really do have a good team here. A lot of support. Again, we couldn't do a lot of things we were doing without the help that we've had. I mean, how do you deliver, those 200 packages with 2,000 meals without help? I mean, and we got a spreadsheet in, a shared Google spreadsheet, and people just went in and started signing up for slots to help out. And that's what it takes. It takes us all right now. And again, kind of echoing Governor Holcomb that, we're in this together. So, and we'll get through it together.
For sure.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure. Well, if you need to, this seems like it worked. If you need to do this again sooner or later, let us know. Let us know. Okay, document signing and adjournment.
Motion.
Okay.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.